Hello, and welcome back. Today we are going to be ranking the Druid subclasses. Wow.
Ooh,
Druids are so cool, and everyone loves them. And they're definitely not the least popular class in the game for
that's
some reason.
true. I
Yeah,
like
they
it.
are. I assume people are like, oh, they're kind of complicated, so they just don't play them. And
You
Fighter is
meant?
the most played class. I mean, I feel
Well, then
like,
that's obviously why.
uh,
I feel like everyone loves druids anyway, even if they're not playing them, you know? Like, you gotta love the druid.
yeah. Right, Blighted is a critical role class, so we're going to be skipping over it. Um, so that starts us with Dreams Druid. Let me read the excerpt here. Circle of Dreams Druid. Druids who are members of the Circle of Dreams hail from regions that have strong ties to the Feywild and its dreamlike realms. The Druid's guardianship of the natural world makes for a natural alliance between them and good aligned Fey. These druids seek to fill the world with dreamy wonder. Their magic mends wounds and brings joy to downcast hearts, and the realms they protect are gleaming, fruitful places where reality blur. Dream and reality blur together, and where they can find rest. Yeah. Have you played with a Dreams Druid before?
No.
Yeah, I feel like
Definitely not. This class is weird.
out of every Druid, I think this is the one that I have the least experience with.
um,
Um, I don't know if anyone ever makes these.
I feel like the, theming here is a bit all over the place, personally. Because it's like, it's like Fey related, but it's like dream related, which is not wholly disconnected, but I don't know. It's not wholly connected. And it's not like trickstery. It doesn't really lean into Fey that much, but it's got this weird Fey connection. And then you get like healing stuff at level 1. But then at level 2 you get like a weird like um short rest, long rest, the bubble. It's like a different version of I'm blanking on the spell. The the house spell.
Leomund's Tiny Hut?
Yeah, Lehman's tiny hut. But it's not it's which I don't know, that doesn't like connect to the previous thing at all. And then at 10 you can teleport people, which
I
doesn't
think, like,
play into either of the things before.
the idea is that you can sleep easier in the bubble, which sort of
Yeah,
relates to dreams.
I think it does sort of relate to dreams, but the first thing doesn't relate to dreams at all. And it doesn't relate, the first thing doesn't relate to the second thing. And the third thing is decent. You can teleport people. It's like you get like a better Misty Step, but you can also teleport other people, which is like kind of like what some of the Eladrin things can do.
Mhm.
You can do it a certain number of times, which is like vaguely Fey related, but it has nothing to do with dreams. It has nothing to do with the previous feature or the feature before. And the last one has stuff to do with dreams. Um, but I don't know what teleporting has to do with dream. It just it's so all over the place.
Yeah, it's a
And it
little
doesn't
weird.
have much to do with what I picture as a Fey druid. So I wouldn't want to play it if I was a healer. I wouldn't want to play it if I was like wanted to be a prankstery Fey. So I don't know why you would want to play this.
Yeah, it's a pretty okay support class, but the problem with it, at least I think, is that inherently druids are kind of connected to the Feywild anyway, with a lot of their spells, and a lot of like things they can do, and also they're inherently support classes. I mean, suppose by that logic you could say that yeah, like a lot of druids are supports, they heal. So you could just say that this is just a druid, but you're like better, I guess.
Yeah, but you aren't better than like the other druids. I think are better at leaning into the class fantasies, and I just don't think it hits it. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's even bad. Like these features are all usable. Um, just I feel like I'd rather play like other things. Like, if I
Yeah.
wanted to use like summon Fey and stuff, I would be a shepherd druid, of course. And if I wanted to be a big spellcaster, land druid is a thing. 'Cause you get natural recovery, and Zars druid is
Yeah.
really good at healing. I don't know.
I just put it in. I want to kind of put it lower, but it's probably just should be in C.
Well, it's kind of solid. Like its stuff isn't even like bad or clunky.
Yeah,
It's
but it's
just
a
kind of
mess.
outclassed.
It's a mess.
And you're still a druid at the end
Yeah,
of the
but we're
day.
narrating the subclass, not the class.
I just think it's fair to put it where like light cleric is. I think.
No, put it in C.
I don't know. It's better than Arcana cleric and nature cleric.
I don't think it is.
It is though. Because you can use all of these.
It is not. You get a second level spell as your 10th level feature, and you get Leomund Tiny Hut as a 6th level feature.
I mean, look. You do get Misty Step as a 10th level feature, but you can get it up to 5 times per long rest, which is pretty good. You can use it on other people, which is pretty good. Also, you can teleport yourself 60 feet, which is pretty good. And druids don't by default get Misty Step. So all of these things are just, in my opinion, pretty good.
It's 10th level though.
I don't know, I would use it. It's a bonus action, 10th level, seems pretty decent to me. And also, it's not a spell, so you could use it in wild shape as well.
Okay. That's a great point. That is a good point. If you want to put it in B, I guess.
I think it's a B tier subclass. That's just me, okay? So I think it's a little
boring.
It's a little uninspired, but it's mechanically not just worse than being a druid.
Fine.
Like, I don't think this stuff is bait. But you know, that's just my opinion. I don't know. I suppose to land druids. You wanna read the excerpt for land druids?
The Circle of Land is made up of mystics and sages who safeguard ancient knowledge and rites through a vast oral tradition. These druids meet with sacred circles of trees or standing stones to whisper primal secrets in Druidic. The circle's wisest members preside as the chief priests of communities that hold to the old faith and serve as advisors to the rulers of those folk. As members of the circle, your magic is influenced by the land where you were initiated into the circle's mysterious rites. I mean,
honestly, them and Moon Druid both have some issues because they came out with the PHB before I think the designers really got a good hook on what makes things good and what makes things not so good in 5th edition. So a lot of their features aren't super good, but you can just get a bunch of free prepared spells, and you get natural recovery, and
I think this.
it's kind of just nice to have.
Yeah, I mean, I think this class starts off really fun. Like, natural recovery makes you way better at just being a spell slinger. You can just use spells more. Um, you get another cantrip, which is alright.
Alright,
And the
cantrip's
spell list
fine.
is good. I think the spell lists are a lot of fun. You can get spells that you don't have access to. You can have more spells prepared, and you get to pick. The problem is your other features are all worthless.
Yeah, they're not useful. Um,
Land stride. Um, just
Land's Stride kind of. I mean, it sort of doesn't come up. If you're playing on a battle map where there's like a river, um, and it's within wading height, it matters kind of.
yeah.
But if someone uses like plant growth on you, it doesn't matter. Because it's magical difficult terrain.
I
So
mean, I would just say I would probably let you just ignore it. I mean, it's plant growth. You're a druid. I mean, that's not what it says, but
yeah, I
eh,
mean, see, I think that would be a reasonable buff. I don't think
I think it
anyone's
just
gonna break
being
the game by saying you ignore the movement penalty of difficult terrain, and that's
yeah, you just
just what it
ignore all
says.
difficult terrain, and then I mean the other one's pretty worthless. You ignore like thorns and spikes and stuff. That doesn't ever come up. The 10th level feature, you can't be charmed or frightened by elementals and fae, is like so situational. Because a
Like,
lot of elementals, like I don't know of any elementals that
I think
charm
a
or
couple
frighten.
of elementals frighten. Not many of them charm. Fae do both of these things pretty often, but if you're not fighting Fae, it doesn't matter. Um, I think, I don't know, you can't be charmed is pretty good, and immune to poison is also very good. You just don't take poison damage. Um, it's great.
Yeah,
Uh, not a ton of things do poison. Like, I would just as soon give this up, though, and I know this is probably a hot take, to just be like, you have advantage on, like, the charmed or frightened conditions if they're, like, if someone uses them on you, and then you're just resistant to poison. I don't know. I feel like I'd
yeah.
just
I mean that
rather
would
have that.
probably be better. It would make it like where it actually came up. Because I imagine I mean, if you're running around in the Feywild for a whole campaign, like this is pretty good. I don't even think this is like ridiculous.
And you gotta
But if
keep in
you're not,
mind,
there's a good chance you fight like you have like an encounter with Fey.
yeah, and druids are really good at wisdom saves, and charmed and frightened effects are almost always wisdom saves. So, like,
Yeah.
you're
Some
already
of them
good
are
at them without having this feature. So,
some frighten effects are charisma,
yeah,
but most of them aren't.
yeah.
Especially the earlier ones. In the I think later, they realized that there were no frighten effects, or there were no charisma saves. And I think they sort of leaned into the fact that frighten is more of a charisma thing. Like that's what they
Yeah, with
wanted to
some
lean
later printing,
into.
sure, but
But
pretty much the
most of the monsters,
entire monster manual doesn't adhere to that. Like the
yeah,
base monster manual.
everything pre-Tasha's doesn't do that. So basically everything's a wisdom save.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter. And then Nature's Sanctuary. Once you're level 14,
Once you're level 14, there's not going to be a beast or plant creature that's a high enough
Yeah,
CR for it to
like
matter.
if this was a earlier thing, there's like a level 6 thing that it could be relevant. But at level 14, beasts don't get that powerful. Like, I think there are some weird beasts in some books that are really powerful and kind of fake.
I'm
But
fairly certain T-Rex is still the top of the top.
yeah, T-Rex and giant ape are kind of the biggest thing. And, you know, not to say, I mean, you could fight, like, a T-Rex just isn't going to be relevant at 14. I mean, it would be relevant to fight, like, 30 T-Rexes, but...
It would be a little strange. I mean, maybe if you had a dinosaur-themed campaign, I suppose, but it would be a little strange to put your party against, like, 30 T-Rexes.
It would be pretty strange. And if you are, that's one combat probably. It's just so situational. You aren't fighting a bunch of beasts. Like, if it was... Because they just don't get high enough level. Like, it'd be less situational as, like... Undead and humanoids are really the only thing that you can really make a whole feature around and have it not be unreasonably situational. And plants even worse. You like never fight plants.
No, you don't. Because even, like, dryads are not plants. Like,
So
treants are, but, you know, I mean, there's some okay challenge rating treants, but once you're level 14, a treant is not really something to be
there
worried about.
yeah, there are some higher level plants. There just aren't very many of them. There aren't a lot to use them.
Yeah, I
Um
don't know.
but so it's just too situational. But it starts really strong. I don't know. I feel like this one's probably a C.
I think
It's
so
pretty
too.
good.
I like it, and I think they're gonna make it feel a little less niche in 1D&D,
Yeah,
but for right
and you get
now, it's kind of meh.
I do think the other part of it is the spells. The spells mean a lot because you are getting them as you're level, right? Up to ninth, you get
Yeah, as
very
far as you're concerned, that is your subclass, is you pick a spell list, which is good.
yeah, but yeah, it's pretty good. Like you in my campaign are playing a mountain druid, and just the fact that you get lightning bolt as a druid
Yeah.
is really cool. And you can get like Underdark, you can get Cloud Kill, which I'm pretty sure isn't a druid spell.
No.
And greater invisibility. Like there's some cool things you can get that you can really build a character.
Yeah, and not only is it cool and you get a bunch of these spells, um, but like in 1D&D, they're gonna let you swap them, so you'll be more of a master of a bunch of different stuff. It's cool.
Yeah,
Um,
that'll be cool. I do think they could have. It would have been more exciting. I do always think this when they give spell lists. It would be more exciting if they had a few bigger callouts that aren't in the spell list, because it always feels like a waste to me when you're like when you get a expanded spell list and they're in your class.
yeah.
You could just take the spells anyway. It's not worthless because obviously you don't have, you get them in addition, but it feels really cool when you get something like lightning bolt.
Yeah, some of
It
the
feels kind of like
stuff
a waste when or it's
earlier,
just like I get call lightning and plant growth, and you're like, oh, well,
yeah.
dang it. Anyway.
But some of the stuff in like the PHB was like you get an expanded spell list, but you still have to prepare these spells, and that feels terrible.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but
But
yeah,
anyway, I think that's
pretty
where it
good.
should be. So.
Got Moon Druid. Circles of the circles of the circle of the moon are fierce guardians of the wilds. Their order gathers under the full moon to share news and trade warnings. They haunt the deepest parts of the wilderness, where they might go for weeks on end before crossing paths with another humanoid creature, let alone another druid. Changeable as the moon, a druid of the circle might prowl as a great cat on one night, soar over the treetops as an eagle the next day, and crash through the undergrowth in bear form to drive off a trespassing monster. The wild is in the druid's blood. In battle, wild shape isn't particularly good outside of healing you, unless you're the subclass, and that's kind of its niche. So you can fight as a bear, and it's pretty good until you realize that once you are no longer a bear, you stink. Well, I mean, I guess then you become an elemental.
You're saying it doesn't have a lot of... You get a lot of... You get to actually be relevant CR beasts. There's some cool things you can do. I will say once you get to higher... There's some cool stuff you can do just as a druid wild shaping early levels.
Yeah.
But once you hit, like, above level 5, it really just feels like an HP pool if you aren't Moon Druid, because Moon Druid you get to do it as a bonus action. It's their early feat. It means a huge amount to do it as a bonus action, because then if you aren't wild shaping as a bonus action, you're like, oh, I turn into a bear and end my turn. Yeah. Whereas, and then next turn, you probably aren't a bear.
Also, you can concentrate on a spell and then turn into a bear. It's nice.
Yeah. I mean, normal druids can do that, but it means you can actually turn into a bear and then do something, like use your spell.
Well, yeah, normal druids can do that, but it takes 2 turns. Wild druids can. I mean, the moon druids can do it on 1. So concentrate on a spell for an action.
It just means a lot you can do, and you get the higher CR. You do get the feature where you can heal yourself, which is worthless. Yeah, and you have the benefit.
It's there.
You have the benefit that I think some of the like clerics that get martial weapons have, where you become a competent fighter, which means but it also, the fighting part of you isn't really using your spell list. Which means when you aren't doing that, or you get knocked out, you're out of wild shapes, or you're out of combat, you're a full caliber. You're a full caster, so you can really throw around your spells a lot because you don't need them in combat as much, and you don't have to use them in combat, so you can save them for other things. Or once you're out of your wild shape, you can just sit back and just blow all your spell slots on healing or stuff like that, which is very good.
But yeah, I think they're pretty notorious at early game being very good.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
They kind of break like low level campaigns a bit. Especially, like, you could multi-class with a barbarian. It's pretty sick. And then, at some point, it's just not super good to wild shape. At the very least, it's not as good as other things you could be doing at those levels.
I mean, I think once you get very high level... I mean, I think that the elemental forms keep you relevant for pretty long.
I think the elemental forms are pretty good at level 10. I think
they're pretty good through, like, at least level 14 to
I don't think so.
15.
I don't think they are, and the only reason I say that is because like you're just not, like, being an elemental at that point is better than not being one. But also they're just, I don't know.
I mean, you want to keep in mind that they have a relevant health pool. And like the water elemental has a 90-foot swim speed, and the fire elemental has a 50 land speed. Earth elemental has a burrow speed.
I mean, don't get me
The air
wrong,
elemental has a 90 fly speed.
they're good for utility, but you can be a giant. As any other druid, you could be a giant eagle and have good utility, or you could be a giant badger and have good utility.
Yeah, but as a giant eagle, you have like 20 health, and as an air elemental, you have 90.
You have like 4. Also, you do have more, but I still stand by the fact that even though these are good things to be able to
You also have
be,
better AC and saves.
yeah, but I still don't think they're better in combat than.
They're also like air elementals are like immune to like a bunch of conditions
Sure.
and resistant to like everything and immune to poison.
Yeah. I mean,
Earth elementals have 130 health and 17 AC
yes.
and 60-foot tremor sets. It's good.
It's decent.
It's decent.
It is. It's decent. It's pretty good.
Also, at level 20, a bonus action that heals you for 130 health. I mean, Barbarian doesn't have an extra 260 health.
And look, Archdruid is pretty well known by people who play 5th edition and know about the Druid to be like one of the best features, period, if not the best feature, period. It's very broken. But it's very broken even if you're not a Moon Druid.
I'm just saying. Earth Elemental is good.
I agree that it's pretty good, but like you have to keep in mind you're using 2 uses of your wild shape, so that's all of your wild shape. Okay. This is it.
Oh yeah, the R2, I forgot.
It's a 10th level. Like, not every table is gonna let you short rest 50 times a day. So you can turn into one of these things one time, and essentially what you're hoping, because you're playing a Moon Druid, is that you're essentially just playing the whole combat or multiple combats as one of these elementals. Which means you would have to be focusing on a spell that lasts for a long time beforehand to get the most out of it. And you don't want to get knocked out of it either. Because if you do, you can't do it again. And like, I don't know. Like, it's good in the sense to where it's better than just turning into like a giant eagle. Like being an air elemental is just better, especially because you're a Moon Druid and you have multi-attack and all that stuff. Although to be fair, air elementals have, yeah.
It's still a bonus action too.
It is a bonus action.
It's a very powerful action economy. And once you start to get features like,
but if your
ideal,
ideal,
like investitures and stuff,
if your ideal late game situation is that you're playing as an air elemental, earth elemental, or fire elemental, you are no longer a spellcaster, right? And then you have to
but you're
compare
still a
yourself.
spellcaster.
You're not when you are wild shaped.
Yeah,
and
but then
you need to then compare yourself to your 10th level fighter barbarian stuff, and I think you do pretty well at 10th. And then I think at 11th, it's less good, because at 11th you have 5th level spells that you'd probably rather be casting than turning into an elemental.
yeah, but you can cast the you could cast like investiture of ice, stone, fire, and then turn into an elemental, which is very good. And it's also a thing of, as you're getting higher level, you're probably fighting things that have damage to knock you out, and you can either stay back at the beginning, cast spells to start, or once you get knocked out of your wild shape, you start to cast spells, or you use your thing and then you have another combat and you don't have it, and then you let your barbarian tanking on his own and you use his support spells. You're still a full caster and you aren't using any of your slots, so once you're out you can just run through them or just save them to support your allies when it's necessary, or do things out of combat.
Well, in theory, you could be using your
Like
combat wild
passive
shape healing, and then use all your slots.
Yeah, but that's terrible, and you don't want to do that. That feature's worthless.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is easily a B, and I want to put it in A. Okay, this class is just good.
I will
I'll
put
let
it
you
in
put
B. I'll even put it above Dreams. I think Moon Druid is very good from level 1 to 10, and past that, you shouldn't be one. That's what I think.
Oh my god. This guy.
Look, especially because
This class has a lot of multi-class power.
It does.
As a note, right? Like you could take you can take levels in Monk, and you get the extra speed. You can flurry of blows while you're in your,
Flurry of
because it
Bears?
says you keep all your flurry of bears. You keep all your features.
No, it's good.
So there's fun stuff you
On,
can do.
on its own, I don't think it is quite, like, super amazing. I think, obviously...
Unlike Dreams Druid, which is awesome at high.
It's fine. TM. Look, they're in the same tier. You know, Archdruid's pretty OP. All things considered. But if we're just only talking about, like, you're level 4, and you have 2 levels in Moondruid and 2 levels in Barbarian, then
I don't know
it's S tier.
What are you talking about, Archdruid?
The level 20 feature of all Druids?
Oh.
You get unlimited wild shapes. And you can ignore the verbal and somatic components of Druid spells.
I don't know level 20 features. Those aren't real. I guess I didn't know that was a thing, actually.
It's, obscene.
Well, I mean, at level 20, then you're just an Earth Elemental forever, so, and you're invincible.
No matter what Druid you're playing, you're invincible, and you can cast spells without casting spells, at all.
Yeah, that's kind of dumb.
As long as they don't cost
whatever.
money.
I think I'll accept where it is, so...
Shepherd Druid. Do you want to read Shepherd Druid?
Druids of the Circle of the Shepherd commune with the spirits of nature, especially the spirits of beasts and fae, and call those spirits to their aid. These druids recognize that all living things play a role in the natural world, that they focus on protecting animals and fae creatures that have difficulty defending themselves. Shepherds, as they are known, see such creatures as their charges. They ward off monsters that threaten them, rebuke hunters who kill more prey than necessary, and prevent civilizations from encroaching on rare animal habitats and sites sacred to the Fae. Many of these druids are happiest far from cities and towns, content to spend their days in the company of animals and Fae creatures of the wilds. Members of the circle become adventurers to oppose the forces that threaten their charges, or to seek knowledge and power that will help them safeguard their charges better. Wherever these druids go, the spirit of the wilderness are with them.
Them being mechanically broken aside, I will say, I think when people originally envision playing a druid, like in their head, this is probably the character you want to play. You're just like a friend to the wilderness. You're friends with all the animals. You're a cute, happy little guy. Um, I don't know. It's sort of just like, well, what you want to do, I think. So, I think it's role playing isn't particularly out of the box, but it is pretty easy to slot in thematically to Druid, I think.
Yeah.
Not to mention, it kind of makes Dreams Druid look worse, because like you
Yeah.
can converse with Fae. Also, most of the summoning spells are technically Feywild themed, so it's like it's much easier to make a good like Fey based Druid in this subclass than it is in that one, which makes it a
Yeah.
little worse.
It makes Dreams a lot worse. Dreams is terrible. But, you know, and this one isn't a mess. All the features work. The first one is you get like a totem related to spirits and animals. And then you get the ability to talk to animals and fae. And then you get something that makes your summoning of beasts and fae better. Then your totem gets buffed and you can heal more. Like it makes sense and works and isn't a mess like Dreams.
Yeah.
It's very thematic. It works. None of the features are bad.
No.
Unlike all the druids we've looked at so far, all the features are just kind of like you want them instead of being
Yeah.
like, well, I want these features. But once I get to like 10, my features are worthless. It's
Yeah.
not
The
the case here.
Spirit
They're just good.
Totem is awesome, and it's the Spirit Totem is good even if you're playing like if the pre-Tasha summoning spells are banned at your table because they're just clunky and bad. This class is still good. If they aren't banned, this class is grossly overpowered. So, I suppose take that into some consideration. Because you can just buff all your allies in an area. And if you summon 8 wolves, you buff 8 wolves. And it's very good for you. Yeah, pretty much the concept, though, of this character is you just make little friends. Druids get a lot of summoning spells. Some of them are not toxic, so I would ask you maybe look at them, pick them up. I don't know. This class I think is pretty fun.
Natasha's summoning spells are way better thought out than the previous ones.
Yeah. Not that the previous ones aren't cool thematically, but
They're
D&D's
cool.
already a slow game, and having to play 8 wolves is not helping that.
Having to play 8 wolves isn't helping, but it's also 8 wolves are 8 wolves.
Also, 8 pixies that can use polymorph.
8 pixies that can use polymorph, I think, is a way bigger problem.
Um,
It
yeah.
because the more you think about it, the bigger problem it is. Where it's like, well, I mean, their spell save's probably low. They have low health. But if you just have them all polymorph your allies into T-Rexes and then fly away,
They're
then you're like,
redoing a
oh.
lot of the like bad summoning spells in 1D&D. Although to be fair, like a lot of people are happy about it because they're essentially just removing the bad summoning spells. So they're pretty much happy about the rework just because of that. But
Yeah.
for me, I'm not super happy because the flavor of summoning is lost in pretty much all of the spells they've reworked so far.
I do it is a big ask when the summoning spells are like, you can summon anything in the monster manual. And then your druid just rolls up and is like, I'm summoning an Alkalopteryx and 17 Gooblagobs and 100 dinosaurs and 47 pixies. And you're like, what do you mean? What do I do now? Will I just go dig up like 6,000 tokens, and if I'm playing online, I go look up 100 pictures and then give you 1,000 initiatives? Whereas
yeah.
the newer summoning spells are more like, it's more of a mechanics thing,
Well,
and then you can flavor it to be different things,
yeah.
which I think is better, because then I think your features, like the fact that you can turn into any animal is less crazy. Like, that's you, so. But if you're summoning a bunch of random stuff, it's a big ask for your DM to go, I'm gonna summon an Algoblopteryx because it's statistically the best animal here. And you're like, no one's ever heard of that animal. That's not fair.
Besides the point though, it's, you know, it's probably the druid you want to play when you think of playing a druid in 5e. At least for me, that's true, right? I want to be a guy who like summons a bunch of like bunnies and squirrels and monkeys and, you know, little foresty friends
You know,
to
that
help me
is
on
an
my journey.
interesting point. Because you basically built a character that was this. But then you
Yeah.
didn't make them a shepherd's druid, which is
Well, when we
interesting.
started, the only druids that I knew existed were Land and Moon Druid, which is why he's not a shepherd druid. I even have the totem thing, but
I have literally just given you features from this class.
yeah, and it's like I'm just non-shepherd druid.
But it's
But
good, it's
I
very
would
thematic.
be if I
Like, put it in
knew it was a thing. But anyway, yeah, I think it's good, and
A
I
or
think
S.
I'm gonna put it in S, just because not only do I think it's like good thematically, like I'd put it in A for thematics, but mechanically it's also insanely good. So I would put it in S. Yeah.
Sure.
Um kind of like the opposite of the Forge Cleric for me. But either way, it still puts them up there. Alright. Spores Druid. Spores Druid is jank as hell. The Circle of Spores. Druids of the Circle of Spores find beauty in decay. They see within mole and other fungi the ability to transform lifeless material into abundant, albeit somewhat strange life. Druids believe that life and death are parts of a grand cycle, with one leading to the other and back again. Death isn't the end of life, but instead a change of a state that sees it shift into a new form. Druids of the Circle have a complex relationship with the undead. Unlike most other druids, they see nothing inherently wrong with undeath. They consider to be a companion to life. These druids believe that the natural cycle is healthiest when each segment of it is vibrant and changing. Undead that seek to replace all life with undeath, or that try to avoid passing to a final rest, violate the cycle and must be thwarted. It is interesting that druids are like the plants and animals class, and the first and only plant-based class that druids have is one about zombies and mushrooms.
Well, actually, fungus aren't plants. They're different.
And they are kind of different, I guess, but
Also, I would argue that land is kind of about plants.
it's not real. I mean, it's kind of in the middle, sort of.
I think the cool thing I feel like thematically this class is just a huge win because it's something that if you think about druids, you think about what they should be, you'd never consider this, but
Yeah,
after like the description and the idea, you just hear it and you're like, you know, yeah, that's a druid. I buy that. That's awesome. You
yeah.
know, it's something you would. It's such a weird take on it, but it just fits so well.
I think the biggest problem with it isn't like thematically it's very cool and it's something to where you're like, oh, I wouldn't have thought of that, right? It's like, oh, mushroom druid, that's kind of cool. Like they make zombies out of mushrooms. It's like the flood. It's kind of bad. Like
Yeah.
nothing it does is particular. Like okay, that's sort of wrong, right? Like Halo Spores slash symbiotic entity is good on not a druid.
See, yeah, it's a weird combination of effect. You have which are thematically very cool. thematically it's very cool, but just like functionally it just doesn't end up working great. Because you get this feature where like you get temp HP instead of wild shaping, which is a big, not nearly as good as wild shaping. But instead,
Yeah, 'cause it's a lot less.
You can do damage to people around you, and your melee weapons do more damage, which is kind of like a very interesting feature to give a druid. But it just doesn't. So at that point, that's like a big feature of your class. So at that point, you're like, well, I want to build a druid with a weapon or base it around shillelagh or something. And I want to kind of be like martially. Maybe you take a few levels in a different class so that you can get better martial stuff. But it sort of scales with your level, so you don't really want to take too many levels in a different class. But you're not a very good martial otherwise. And if you lose the temp HP, then you don't do anything. And it still takes an action for you to go into it. And they only last for 10 minutes, so it's not like you can just be a martial that's relevant.
Yeah,
So,
you like have a kind of a okay AoE. It's kind of it's weird. I feel like this class only works if you're like a 10th level druid, but then you also have 5 levels in either monk or ranger. But then at that point, it's like there's
but you,
no way that you will.
it's no way you keep those temp HP though, right?
But there's never a point where you ever keep the temp HP really.
Well, it starts because you get 4 per level. So by the time you're level
Well, when you're
like
level 10,
10, you're
you
getting
can get
40,
40, which is
which means you'll.
okay.
It's pretty good. You're probably gonna keep them for a few turns at least, most likely. But but it's not very good unless you have like extra attack or flurry of blows or something. But then at that point,
Well, once you're level
you're not getting
15,
enough.
everything's gonna do 40 damage to you in a turn.
Yeah, so you kind of can't really afford to take those levels and other things.
And then you
Otherwise, your
can
temp
like,
HP isn't keeping up.
and then you can like kind of sneak up to people, and then you can do your multi-attack thing, and then it's pretty good because you could just keep the temp HP by not getting hit, right? But it's kind of it's difficult.
I like the change to this in Baldur's Gate is they don't have things that are 10 minutes. And you can just, the temp HP just lasts until you lose them, and it makes the class feel way better, and still kind of bad. So I feel like they should just last, but you know.
Yeah.
But then you get, like, zombies, but the zombies are alive for an hour, and you have to use them on a corpse, and they only have 1 health.
It has to be a small or a medium beast or humanoid.
Well, that's not that much requirement, but they last for an hour, so it's not like you can really keep them for that long. And they have 1 health. And there's zombies.
Yeah, and you can only use it 5 times per long rest. So
So it's not like you can keep them so you can keep them to do, like, out of combat stuff, really. Because they only last an hour. Maybe you can do some stuff. You need to get them, like, from a combat, so it's pretty awkward. But in combat, at 6th level, the zombie is already pretty worthless.
not to mention, best case scenario, if you have 5 1 HP zombies, that's 5 turns in the initiative that you don't want to play.
Yeah, but there's zombie. Yeah, there's they're not even relevant turns because they shamble 20 feet and then roll an attack with
It's plus
what
3.
+3. That's not hitting any at level 6, and the feature doesn't scale, so it's not like it's getting better.
It's horrible.
God.
Um, yeah,
Um,
I don't know, man.
and then like you can throw your thing, which is your Halo of Spores, which is decent, but doesn't really help you not be bad.
Spreading
And your
spores is
14th level features
fine.
like kind of interesting. You can't be crit,
I don't
which
think
is
it's
the relevant
that
thing.
interesting, but it is quite good. You can't be blinded,
Yeah, I
deafened,
guess.
frightened, poisoned, and you can't be crit. Pretty
It just
solid.
doesn't work very well.
Yeah, no. Mechanically, this class is in shambles, dude.
It's very sad though, because thematically it's so fun. Oh,
Like legit, I think the best you could get out of this class is by like dual wielding normal clubs and using shillelagh. And then you use your
well, you,
bonus action to attack.
well, the way I'm doing it is you just have high decks
Bro,
and
this
you
is
just dual
hard.
wield like scimitars, and then I think it's okay, but it just doesn't work very well. It's just
Baseline dual wielding is so bad though. You need like two weapon fighting, and even then, dual wielding scales so bad in 5e.
I mean you're getting an extra damage on every hit, but it just doesn't. It still scales, but it just doesn't work. I feel like I don't know. This is like maybe a stretch to put it in C. It might just deserve to be in D.
I it's
It's just so cool that I want to put it higher, but it doesn't work.
yeah, and if
Ugh.
if you're not getting hit, which is a big ask,
You
6
like how
levels of this and then
gameplay.
5 levels in ranger and monk can make it playable, but you I don't know. I wouldn't try it. You'll be disappointed when a dragon does an AoE and then your class that you've been building up for 11 levels doesn't work. I don't know.
We have to sync a whole turn and setup too.
It's,
Doing nothing.
it's something. It's something for sure. All right. You wanna read stars, druids?
The circle of stars allows druids to draw on the infinite power. Draw. I just added that word. That's not where it isn't in there. The circle
Infinite
of stars
power.
allows druids to draw on the power of starlight. These druids have tracked heavenly patterns since time immemorial, discovering secrets hidden amid the constellations. By revealing and understanding these secrets, the circle of stars seeks to harness the power of the cosmos. Many druids in the circle keep records of the constellations and their stars' effects on the world. Some groups document these observations at megalithic sites, which serve as enigmatic libraries of lore. These repositories might take the form of stone circles, pyramids, petroglyphs, and underground temples. Any construction durable enough to protect the circle's sacred knowledge even against a great cataclysm.
Wow. Yeah. So
Wow.
this class has a lot of flavor. Um,
It is of a lot of flavor.
it's not the first thing I think of when I think of druids, but definitely the space relation is there, right? I mean,
It's
there's some level of
I'm a big
you're a
I'm a
big
big sucker for like star theming in fantasy.
yeah, that's reasonable.
um
Also you get a star chart as a spell focus. It's cool. There's like a bunch of different. There's like even a little table for what it can be and stuff, which is just great flavor text for the for the class.
yeah, it is a ton of flavor text.
Um,
It's so much fun.
Also, Starry Form is very good, and you
Starryverm
can
is
pick.
similar. Terraform is a similar idea to Spores, where it's like instead of using your normal wilds, you do something else. But instead of it being clunky and terrible, it's really good instead.
Yeah, literally just Archer version Starry form is anything you probably would have wanted to get out of Spores Druid, but better.
You get to do a bonus action attack, which means it doesn't even affect. Like, you can just be doing whatever you want, you just do a bit more damage. Dragon makes it where you
Just
essentially
always can concentrate.
can't fail concentration checks. Technically, you can if you take enough damage, but you have to take at least over 20 damage
And
to
if you
fail.
take
And you,
proficiency in con saves during a feat, it's very hard to fail if you auto get a 10. So
yeah, because it's not even you get a 10, it's you roll a 10. So
yeah, it's
it's
good. And it not only is Dragon good, it's
and
probably the least good.
Dragon is definitely the least good. Archer's really good, and you still don't ever use either of them because Chalice is the best one.
Yeah, well, you can use Archer if you don't want to be a healer, but if you do want to be a healer,
If you
you
want to
should
be a
be using
healer,
Chalice.
you could go Chalice, and you're all of a sudden outputting the best healing out of any class in the entire game.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, literally, one level of Life Cleric, Stars Druid, is probably the best healer in the game. I don't even need to say probably. It is the best healer in the game, hands down. I don't even have to think about it. So if you want to play a healer, do that.
I mean, I played this class without one level.
Yeah,
Life
and it's
Cleric.
still really good.
So
You don't
good.
need the level in Life Cleric, but you could take it.
I will say I played this and my DM let me use this feature with Healing Spirit, and I don't think it should be used with Healing Spirit. I think rules is written, it doesn't make sense. If your DM allows it, Chalice is disgustingly, unreasonably overpowered. um,
Yeah, it is. But
but I
not
don't think it
also
should
good
be.
berry.
So, I think rules is written, good berry and healing spirit don't count because
I've seen people play it with both of those things counting, and I've seen people saying, well, technically the spell isn't restoring HP, it's summoning a thing or making berries.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But this is not
I
one of those things that I've seen rules clarified by Gygax on or whatever. So I have no idea if
I
it
just
is
feel like
supposed to
that's
work or not, but I've seen it be played both ways.
I think it's good without it, and I think it works. It shouldn't work with it. It just doesn't make sense. You're making the berry. The berry is, it's not a healing spell. You make a berry. The berry heals you.
Sure.
Either
but,
way, then you're 6.
Even if it doesn't work that way, it's still good. And if it does, it's
good.
insanely good.
However, then your 6th level feature, pretty weak. Wheel and Woe, you can get like a baby divination wizard.
Yeah.
But I played a
It's
whole
pretty good.
campaign with this, and this never. I maybe affected one roll. Maybe. This isn't very useful. Because you have to do it before you know what they rolled. Right? So, you get basically ability to roll a d6 before on an attack roll.
I think it's pretty good. I think it's pretty good because.
But you have to do it before they roll, so you don't know what they roll.
Yeah, but it's a reaction. You can just use it.
Yeah,
and
but you can only
once
use
you're out,
it.
you're out. You don't have to think about it too much. And
I
Wheel is kind of mid. And look, woe isn't overpowered or anything, but you could just be like, oh, I'm gonna use like a hold person or something on someone, and I'm just gonna throw the woe die out there. And if it doesn't affect it, it doesn't affect it. And if it does, then great.
I feel like wheel is the one I always wanted. Because then if my ally is doing something, I can actually feel like I contribute. But the enemy is like, oh, they're gonna attack? Oh, one of my guys is gonna get hit. And 19 of my allies are being attacked every turn. I'll use it on this one. On this guy's one of his 8 attacks that this gargoyle.
Well, you don't do that, is the thing.
And I do that, and I'm like, oh, I rolled a 3. Well, he rolled a 30.
I think optimally, woe is good for when someone casts something that requires a big save on one guy. And wheel is really good on, essentially, it's guidance, right? But you can stack it with guidance. So if you need someone to open a door, like pick a lock, you use guidance, you use wheel. Look, it's not broken. Like, this isn't an insane feature, but you already have your like level 2 feature, so you don't need an insane.
Conversely, though, the level 10 feature is obscenely disgusting. All your forms just get twice as good. And you can change them at the start of each turn. So now you've been Chalice your whole life because it's the best one. And now Chalice is twice as good. And you can just switch. So if you're concentrating on something, you don't need the healing. You switch into Dragon. And now you have a fly speed.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you don't need to concentrate and your allies are doing good, you just switch into the archer and you shoot at something, someone takes damage, you switch back into Chalice. It's no action economy. You just are whatever you want to be. And at 14th level, you're now resistant to all damage.
No. Just not non-magical bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing. So.
No, it's just resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slash.
Oh yeah, you're right. Which is a little bit better. But I feel like a lot of there's a lot of classes.
It's way better.
But it's just not that interesting, because there's a lot of classes where their final subclass feature is you gain resistance to, like, some stuff. Especially, like, in Paladin.
Yeah, but you are in your stars form at all times.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, it's not that good. I mean, it's good, it's just not that interesting. It's not that unique. So.
Just put it in S.
Yeah, I mean, I was never gonna not put it in S, but I was gonna talk about it, you know?
I know. Just put it above Shepherd.
Fine. Wildfire Druid. Wildfire Druid. Druids within the circle of Wildfire understand that destruction is sometimes the precursor of creation, such as when a forest fire promotes later growth. These druids bond with a primal spirit that harbors both destructive and creative power, allowing these druids to create controlled flames that burn away one thing and give life to another. I don't like them. They're like, well, I don't know. I don't know what I was even gonna say, but I think they're cool. Thanks.
They're kind of like... They're a little bit like Shepherd Druid, but worse. But they've got a lot of interesting theming and a lot of fun. Instead of making your summonings better, you get like a specific summon
Yeah, you get a
that's like
cool
your
summon.
best buddy. It's sort of... It's a wild shape replacer, so you can just summon it. It's a little bit like, instead of you wild shaping, you make your wild shape, and it's a bit weaker, but you get to create it somewhere, and then you are still you, which is very good. But, and I mean, it sort of got it makes you you got some better healing. It's a cool, the theming works. It's sort of like this idea of you do a bit more damage, and you do a bit more healing. You get that like death from life thing. You
Yeah,
get this like bomb pet.
it's nice.
It scales alright.
Scale's okay. It's not the best, but it's fine.
Not the best, but it works well enough. It's an action to do, but it's an action to do, and then it gets to do something anyway.
Mm.
So it's not that bad to use your action on it. Um, I mean, you have to command it with your bonus action every turn, which is kind of a hit. Otherwise, it's not doing anything. So you are like losing your bonus action every turn, which does hinder you from casting bonus action spells, which are
Which
good.
druids don't have very many.
They don't. They have like healing spirit and stuff.
They do have healing spirit. That is true.
And healing spirit is good.
Yeah, I mean, it's solid. You can turn dead bodies into bombs, or you can have them heal people. Um,
The theming's cool. The idea of life from death.
yeah, I mean,
Of
you're
that
essentially like a phoenix.
fire.
It doesn't say that, but
It's cool. It works. I don't know. There's not really a lot of problems. The features are just all cool.
yeah, they're pretty flavorful.
They just
Pretty
kind of
neat.
work. They are flavorful. They are unique. Yeah.
It's not like as good as Stars Druid, but it's good. I think I want to put it in A tier.
Yeah, I was gonna say put it in A. It's not like broken, but it's unique, good, and interesting, and it doesn't really have any.
Yeah, it's just solid, and it gives you something else to do with your wild shapes. Play it if you want to
Nothing
play a
gets
druid.
fun spells like Scorching Ray and Revivify, which druids don't get, and
Yeah, it's just a pretty good
uh,
spell list too.
Life, which is
Fire
good.
Shield's pretty good. Flame Strike, Mass Cure Wounds. It's nice.
Yeah, which all of those are not druid spells. I mean, you get plant growth.
Well, druids get Mass Cure Wounds, but having it always.
Do they get mass cure runes? Oh. No, they don't get flame strike.
They just don't get Mass
They
Healing
don't
Word.
get Aura of Life, and they don't get Revivify, and they don't get Scorching Ray.
True. It's nice. Good,
I
good
believe they
spell
get
list.
burnt, I think.
Do druids
Maybe
get
they don't.
Burning Hands?
Maybe
Druids
they
don't.
don't. They
Don't
don't.
get
So
Burning
they get
Hands.
every level they get a spell that they don't get, and a spell that they do get that is good. So, very good. Yeah, I think that's it.
Cool. Druids. I feel like we
Woo!
spent a long time talking about them, despite there being significantly less druid subclasses than cleric.
Yeah,
But
I think
whatever.
so.
Druids can do a lot of stuff, I guess. So, I guess that's it. See you next time. Bye.